Hello, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to talk about a very unusual but very influential musician, John Leslie Montgomery. Born in Indy, Naptown, baby, 1923. For you squares, that's Indianapolis, Indiana, okay? Just so you know. Indy, Naptown. Got it? Write it down. Okay. He had brothers, Buddy and Monk. His brothers played instruments. One was older, one was younger. Early in their lives, they had a split in the family that resulted in the father leaving Indianapolis, leaving the mother behind, and taking his children with him to Columbus, Ohio. And they went down there and enrolled in school, went to Champion High School. Monk was the first one to drop out. And he started selling coal and ice, hot and cold. He was taking care of both extremes. And the brothers had great love for each other, as we will see manifested through this discussion. So Monk used some of his money to buy a 4-string tenor guitar for his little brother, John Leslie, who by that time was nicknamed Wes. And we all know him as Wes Montgomery. Okay. Now, they stayed around in Columbus for a while. But something happened around 1943, and the brothers all ended up moving back to Indy. At that point, Monk continued to play, and a little brother, Buddy, he started picking up the vibes and piano, and the only one who really wasn't playing was John Leslie, Wes. He got a job as a welder, got married, and started a family that would end up being a family of 7 children he and his wife had together. He's out at a dance with his wife one night, and the music is just going, and he hears Charlie Christian on the guitar. And it struck him like lightning. The very next day, he took some of his hard-earned money and went and bought himself a 6-string guitar. And as he put it, all those years before, what he'd done with the 4-string guitar didn't help him with the 6-string. He had to learn all over again. And he did, by listening to Charlie Christian records and copying and practicing night and day. Because as a family man, when you take money from the family budget to buy yourself a guitar, you better be good at it real quick, and it better start making some money too, or you just insulted your family. So he practiced night and day. And he started playing every Charlie Christian lick and developing some of his own stuff because he's a creative person. Within 1 year, he was playing so well that he started playing in little clubs around Indianapolis after 1 year. 20 years old. Got married young, started his family young. And he's playing little gigs, some with his brothers and some with other people, local guys here and there. But he's still working his straight job, welding and doing all that stuff so he can support his family. And in one of the clubs he's playing, the great Lionel Hampton comes through with his band. And Lionel hails him and goes, "Ooh, yes, he hires him on the spot. Even though West, being self-taught, could not read or write music. He was self-taught, played completely by ear, but what ears he had. And he had an unusual technique, because you see, he would practice till real late at night. And he was a real kind-hearted person. He did not want to disturb his family or his neighbors. So rather than doing a fat pick that really brings the sound out of a guitar, he used the fleshy part of his thumb to play, because it was quieter. And he developed technique where he could double pick with his thumb. And he learned to play 2 notes at once, octaves, with his thumb, single notes, chords, everything. He developed his own innovative technique out of necessity. He needed to practice late at night when everybody else was asleep. And so he did it in a way that made him less of a problem for his family and the community. And this became his signature technique. Sometimes necessity is the mother of invention. And he spent 2 years with Helm's band. In that time, Helm's band would fly to gigs. West didn't fly. Yeah, he was scared of airplane. So he would drive his car. And sometimes he would just make it to the gig on time. But the first thing he would do, once he got into the club, got his stuff set up, was go to the phone and call his wife and family to let them know he was safe and okay. That was his habit. First call, wife and family. A jazz man who's also a family man like that, that's West Montgomery. He had a chance to play with Fats Navarro and Charles Mingus and people like that while he was out there on that road. But what they were playing and their attitudes about things were not the direction he wanted to go in. So after a couple of years of this, driving all over the place and being tired and playing with cats he didn't really like that much, he decided he'd just go back to Indy, get his job welding, and continue to do what he's doing, which is what he did. And then his brothers approached him. And they had a little thing going on, and they thought they could make something happen with it. And so we organized a little band, and we're doing real well. Brothers had a group called the Master Sound. They added West. Next thing you know, they all move out west, California. Make a couple records out there with Pacific Jazz, people like that. And that worked pretty well too. But West missed his family. Before it was all over, he did a little tour of Canada and actually did a recording up there. So there were 2 or 3, 4 or 5 albums made about that time between the California and the Canadian ventures. But once again, this man who put family first returns to Indy. And he goes back to welding and playing his guitar at night. Sometimes he would weld all day and play not 1 gig at night, but 2. And on one of those nights, in the audience was Cannonball Adderley and George Sharon and Lenny Tristano. And they're sitting there listening to this guy play the guitar and going, oh my God. And Cannonball, who always had an ear for talent. Cannonball, a graduate of Florida A&M University, just in case you don't know that. Yeah. Cannonball called Orrin Keepuse of his record company, Riverside in New York. And before you know it, West has a recording contract with Riverside. So to New York he goes. He's making great albums. A new sound, the guitar, the West Montgomery, and these albums are hitting and people going, woo, who is this? He's making a big splash. Oh yeah, big splash. Things are going great. But once again, he's got a family in Indy. And the records are great, and the touring is great, but it ain't doing what he needs to for his family, so he goes back home. He's then set up to do an album that may have been just the one, because they put him with Miles Davis's rhythm section, Tommy Flanagan and those cats. And it was a hit, it was a jam, because you got that swinging thing happening, you got this new sound on the guitar, because you see West did things different. Yeah, he copied Charlie Christian at first, but later on, he started adding octaves, which Charlie Christian did not do a lot of, and he started doing quarter melodies in his improvisation. And people would say he had this little formula where he would start out with single notes and build this tension. Then he'd use double notes to octaves to even build it even further. Then he'd use chords, mostly triads, which tripled the amount of information supplied, notes that you're getting at a time. And so you got the intensity growing, and then he gradually back out of it. That was his style in improvisation. That's the way he built and created his solos. That became his signature as well. Things are going pretty well for West at this point after that great album with Miles Davis's rhythm section. And so he did a couple of things with his brothers. He did some things with the Tarantine brothers. He did things with this person and that person and this person and that person, and he started traveling abroad, and he started making the money he needed. He could quit his job and do guitar full time, and then things really took off. Now, understand something. This is a short period of time, okay? West did not start this journey until 1959. And by 1968, he was on his deathbed. So everything we know about West Montgomery, everything we have about him in terms of recordings is this one period of time. 1959, 1968, 9 years. And he revolutionized jazz guitar. By 1965, someone persuaded him to start doing more pop-oriented material. Bumping on Sunset. Oh, Eleanor Rigby. Yeah. Going out of my head. All these great pop tunes that he made his. The way West did it was just the way to go. By the time I went to college, I'm gonna tell you how old I am, 1966, every guitar player that could was trying to play that West Montgomery. It was like that. If you were a guitar player at this period of time, you wanted to play like West Montgomery. You wanted those octaves, you wanted that swing, you wanted those chords, you wanted that sound. You probably was playing with your thumb and not with a pick. Everybody wanted that. He started doing television appearances and everything. But all that hard work over all of those years, working as a welder, doing 2 gigs, driving all across the country, trying to support his wife and 7 children, it finally got the best of him. And in 1968, at 45 years of age, he died of a heart attack at his home in Indianapolis. He won either first or second place in every jazz guitar poll between 1960 and 1968. He won Grammy nominations and many Grammy awards for solo work, for big ensemble work, because he had started recording with full orchestras and strings and things like that. He did it all. He even was awarded a Grammy after his death as late as 1969 for work he had completed just prior to his heart attack. But let's take a second look at this. Broken family got to move away, move back. His brother buys him a guitar because he's the only guy that can't play. He gets married young, has a bunch of kids. He's working hard jobs. He teaches himself to play. People love him. He's doing this, he's going out and he's getting started and he's coming back because of his family. He goes out and he comes back because of his family. He goes out and he comes back because of his family. But once the money got to the point that he could just do the music and support his family, he stayed out there 1965, and between 1965 and 1968, he completely dominated what is known as jazz. And because of all the influences that came to be found in his music, the pop, the string, sometimes the electric bass, he is considered one of the forerunners, founders, innovators that led us to fusion. Because he was gone before fusion arrived, but he is the one that set it on its course. He was gone before smooth jazz arrived, but he set it on its course. And he'd also done bop and hard bop and post bop and soul jazz and everything else that he could hear. Because remember, he was completely self-taught. And everything he did, all that great variety, was done with his ear. And the incredible technique that he created for himself out of necessity. And all of this started because he went out dancing with his lovely wife and heard a song by Charlie Christian, and the rest is history. John Leslie Montgomery, one of my favorite musicians. There are tons of video out there about him from this one short period of time. All of this music and innovation. We're talking a true genius and a really good man and a dedicated family man first. Wes Montgomery, baby. Go check him out right now. You'll hear love in every note he plays. Thank you.